At least 34 million people in California and the western states are under flood watch right now. After being hammered with this major storm system that has dumped over a foot of rain in many places, they are about to get walloped yet again. 230,000 people as of midday today did not have power. At the peak, 400,000 people were without power, but 230,000 still remain without power. Major catastrophic damage. Roadways have been turned into rivers. Cars have been flooded. Many thousands of cars have been flooded. Many homes have been flooded. We're seeing just pictures of devastation coming out. Mostly the water is staying along established riverbeds and creek beds, but those waterways are in many cases 10, 12, 15, 20 feet above where they usually are, depending on how narrow the channels are. We're seeing lots and lots of flooding. This is turning small creeks, small streams into rivers, and that is not something that they have seen in quite a while out there. The flooding is extreme. We're seeing that in the last storm, there were gusts of over 60 miles per hour. There's wind damage that has toppled power lines and toppled trees onto power lines. They received over a foot of rain. In some places, it was as much as 17 inches in Ventura County. 17 inches of rain, and northern and central California are looking to get another 6 to 12 inches before all is said and done by tomorrow. Initial reports are that because the dams and reservoirs were so low, like the Orville Dam, the Shasta, the Folsom, they were at 50% capacity roughly, depending on which dam we're talking about, but about 50% capacity. The experts are saying that they believe that the reservoirs can absorb most of the water that's coming off of this, that's going down the river. However, we're expecting to see the Sacramento River still flood and go into flood watches and flood stages due to the fact that all the creeks and streams coming into it from the sides, that is what's going to cause it to go into flooding. They expect the Orville Dam as well as the other dams to be able to hold back all, so they won't need to dump water downstream. They'll be able to just absorb all the water coming down to them, but due to all those creeks and streams and small rivers that go into the Sacramento River as well as others, there will still be flooding, just not nearly as extreme as if the dams weren't backing up a whole bunch of it upstream. That will allow them to refill a lot of their reservoirs. There's been extreme drought all across California for a while. We saw last summer that farmers were not able to get water for their crops due to the drought. But one thing we need to put out here is this much rain this fast oftentimes does not refill the aquifers. Depending on the geology of different areas, a lot of this water is just going to roll straight off the surface, and it's not going to sink down into the ground where it's going to refill the aquifers that they tap with the wells and everything like that. Some areas where the aquifers are fed from rivers and from streams, this may filter its way down into those aquifers and refill some of those, which would be very, very useful for the farmers out there. However, it remains to be seen how much good this water is going to have, because in just a scant few number of days, they're getting this much water that's mostly just going to roll right off the surface. I will point out this. As natural disaster relief teams get rolling and start looking to respond to California, I will point out that in such a liberal bastion, how many of the people there responded to the flooding in eastern Kentucky. As someone who responded to the disaster in eastern Kentucky, one of the most notable things about that was that the Red Cross did not respond. There was a lot of political pressure put on them by liberal groups and lots of people on Twitter and such like that, many of whom reside in California, pressuring Red Cross not to respond because those people who are anti-climate change had it coming. And I can't tell you how disgusted I was with that. And I believe firmly that regardless of who someone is or even what they've done on Twitter, even recently, that all human beings deserve to be, should be given relief, flood relief. I hope that Red Cross actually responds to this one. They probably will, because all the people they were listening on Twitter last time telling them not to respond are probably telling them to respond this time. But religious groups and such that did respond to eastern Kentucky will almost certainly deploy also to California. I think that when we really think about things, it's not based on how good a person is or how bad a person is, that whether we respond or don't respond to disaster relief, but rather that all people are created in the image of God and therefore have value and worth, even if they do despicable, evil things. And people who pressured the Red Cross and other organizations not to respond to eastern Kentucky, horrible, horrible people. And that was a horrible thing to do. And I think that it's hard to see when you have two sides, and one side is acting inhumanely and evil, and the other side, whether they're squelching free speech or denying disaster relief to people or pulling back people's Social Security benefits or whatever they're doing at this moment, and then we turn around and want to do what's right for all people, and they get the benefit of that too. It seems unjust, but remember, if you believe in God at all, that He is watching and that He is judging, and that there will be an account for every evil deed that is done under the sun. And all we can do is to pray for people that we may not agree with and may not like. Remember that a lot of the areas that are affected are outside the city areas. There are a lot of conservative areas as well that are outside the cities that a lot of people who may be very like-minded to you too. But even if it wasn't the case that many affected people are like-minded, we should still see the value of every human being, and how we help people in crisis situations should not be dependent upon their politics or how they respond. Unlike how some other people have politicized everything. They're about to get a bunch more rain over the next day, and it's going to get worse. It sounds like the flooding, once again, the ground gets saturated with water, and as the ground gets saturated or super saturated with water, when you get more rain that hits it, it doesn't absorb into it, it doesn't flow into it, it just slicks right off the top. And so word is that a lot of places in California are getting to that place where they're super saturated with water, and so that water is just going to flow right off of it into streets, into rivers, and into stream beds. So we may see some catastrophic further flooding, as well as the mudslides. We've gotten some indications of some mudslides, but we may get a whole lot more mudslides in areas where they don't usually get rain or don't usually get too much rain. The snowpack up in the Sierra Nevadas is already higher than it's ever been on record, and that is probably going to get added to here again with this storm rolling in off the coast. Please do be praying for the people of California. If you are linked up with any disaster relief organizations, or if you make any contributions, you might want to consider doing that. And like I said, I know that that may hurt fundamentally down at your core, but be reminded once again the value of every human life, and just imagine them receiving the benefits from religious organizations and having to eat some crow a little bit if you have to make you feel. The whole heaping burning coals thing is not meant like you should do good so that it hurts them, but an acknowledgement that as you serve people who have treated you horribly, it will burn. But you shouldn't do it so that it burns. But if you need to in order to do the right thing, consider doing that. All right, folks. If you found this video useful or helpful, you might want to check out this other video right over here from me. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you later. Steve Poplar, out.